All right, hello there, and welcome back to Python for Beginners at intermediate level starting. And the topic is dictionaries continued. And I thank you guys, and I must congratulate you guys for coming so far and having patience to come so far, right? Because we come here and we have that pursuit for success, that pursuit for becoming developers. We're not learning programming for the sake of programming only, right? You are going to become good and professional programmers with the grace of Almighty, and with the grace of Almighty, plus your hard work and your passion and your aspiration, right? And now let's get quickly started. And a student questioned me yesterday. I'll first solve the question and then I'll go ahead with dictionaries, right? All right, he said, sir, if I have a list, for example, so let me show you. All right, so he said, sir, if I have a list, for example, right, and now if I pop out something, for example, here, it's not showing me. For example, if I have this list here, not the list, sorry, if I have this dictionary here, so you can say L has a dictionary. L is now a dictionary with key name value Fahim, and another key is 1 and the value is 1, 2, 3, 4. Now if I say L dot pop and I supply let's say I supply the key name, which is name. Now will it pop out? Yes, it returns the element popped out, right? Delete will not return the element popped out. But if I do the same from IDE, not from IDE but IDE, this file, it doesn't show anything. I said, beta, once you are doing it from the command line, it's showing you, right? Because it does return. Now, in order for this to return, you have to print at least, right? You can go ahead and print what's been popped out, right? Now you can clearly see Fahim has been popped out. It's returning. Or what you can do, you can at least take the value, that is PO double popped out value, that is going to be L dot pop. Now you're popping out this key name and you're going to pop out Fahim with the key. I will say print. Now I'll say print the popped out value, right? And now once I print, now you can see you're getting Fahim, right? So it does return the value that's been popped out from the dictionary, right? And it is now done. Let me give you the recap of dictionaries. We have learned so far a dictionary is a heterogeneous. What is heterogeneous? Right? Diversity. It can be int, list, tuple, any damn thing, right? So it can contain Python type elements. A list can also be heterogeneous. Yes, list is also heterogeneous collection, so it can contain Python element types, right? And dictionary is a list, right? You have seen many different things, right? But yeah, with the dictionaries, you have to understand different concepts, right? That we can take. Not only that, right? We can take many different things in a dictionary. For example, if I say my dictionary, my dict is equivalent to, right? So now we have, let's say about a key, right? Students, right? And students can be a list of the things, right? I'll say this, right? So Jafar, Imran, Samir, right? So now you can see we are having 3 students, right? And we can have, and because I told you it's the biggest data structure available. Now key can be, let's say about, it can be roll numbers, right? And they can be keys as well, right? So for example, Jafar has the roll number. Let me call this roll number, right? I can say roll number is going to have keys like 1, 2, 3 because we have 3 students. So now if I say my dict has to be printed, so I'll say print my dict. Right now you're getting all the things. Now you can see that's what we call as heterogeneous collection. Or you can say give me only by the help of key, right? I need students only. So you can call students. Now you're getting 3 students, Imran, Jafar and Samir. And I need also their roll numbers, right? So you can clearly see, right, that you're getting, okay, you have to see students, and the second one is roll number, and now you have to apply a multi-dimensional array right here, or we can get it one by one. So let me show you this first. Okay, we can get it like this. So we have students, and we have a roll number as well. Right, so I can say I want this students plus I want roll number. This is how we query the list. So now we are getting 1 2 3. All right, I want the 0th student and I want the 0th roll number. Now you can see that Jafar has one roll number. You can clearly see the Jafar has first roll number 1, and if I say I want the roll number of first, right, and I can go ahead and see Imran has 2, and now if I want roll number 3, so you can clearly see, right, now 3 is out of the bound, so 2 is there, right, because 0 1 2, right, Samir has 3. All right, so this is how a dictionary can be pretty useful, right? And what can we have? We can have many different things, right? Inside a dictionary, we can add another tuple. Let's say about now we have contact. All right, and contact can be a tuple. So that's why I said heterogeneous elements. So I can say 941932221 908655443 980970990. Alright, so now if I print nothing, now if I print this dictionary, you can clearly see that students is the key, the value is a list. Roll number is the string key and the value is list. Contact is the key, but the value here is tuple. Alright, so that's what is more interesting about this. Now you're getting all what you had to get, right? Now I want student, I want to get students only, right? And I want to get their contact numbers, right? And I will say I want to also get my dictionary, CONTACT, contacts. Now you are getting only contacts, right? Or you can say I need to get the contact number of Jafar, which is at position 0, right? You can call this as well by the name, by the key. You can call directly by key, and you can say give me the 0th element. So now Jafar has this phone number, right? And this is how it works. So I may have to add one more. Yeah, this is how it works, right? Or you can say I need to get students, which is the key. Right, and I can say my dict, and we have seen many different things. Right, we have seen update, we have seen keys, we have seen get the values, didn't we? We have seen many different things, right? And we have seen items, right? And we have seen looping through the items, right? And what else have we seen? What else is there? There are many different things, right, that we have to be sure of. Right, we can call by keys, right, and key can have another key inside it. For example, let's say we have a dictionary right here, right, and it is, for example, Naveed, right, and the value is going to be sorry, a list. Now a list can be a key and a value again. Yeah, it can be a key, and our dictionary can have another dictionary in it. For example, now Naveed has contact, right, and contact is right. So now this is another dictionary, key and a value, but inside key and a value pair also. So now if I say print my dictionary, you can see now a dictionary has another dictionary in it, right? You can clearly see. You'll say I want to get my dictionary Naveed, and now you can see you're getting Naveed, alright, and you will say I want to get, for example, the contact of Navi, and you can do many different things, right, with dictionaries, right, and whatever you think of can be achieved using a dictionary. So we will be starting with another very important. So this is where now we are going to start with interesting things, right, and then we are going to sum up and compile each and everything that we have learned so far, right, and today's topic is now most interesting. This is where it starts generating that student interest, which is going to be user defined functions. So now we have seen different functions, but we have not seen user defined functions. What we have seen so far, we have used functions like power, it returns something. We have seen function like pop, and we pass something here and it returns something. What is that function returns? How do you create that function that returns? Right, so what are those functions? For example, now in Python, we create functions with keyword def. I repeat, this is a keyword, right? There are specific keywords. For example, if I have to create an empty set, I will say s is equal to set. So this creates an empty set, right? And similarly, if I have to create an empty dictionary, I cannot create it like this. I have to use this, because these braces are used for sets and these braces are also used for dictionaries. How are you going to distinguish? For example, if I say S1 and I can say give me type, I need to get the type of S and S1. Now in that case, if they are empty, but I need to get the type of S. What am I doing here? Okay, let me get the type of S and the type of S1. Now you can see the first is set, another is dictionary. Now this is set and this is dictionary, right? Because I'm showing you this, someone asked me this question as he could not answer. He had answered empty set is declared like this, and it was his final examination, right? Anyways, now we go back to user defined functions. So now these are keywords. So there are some words which are already defined by the programming. All right, inside the programming it's already defined, right? For example, we have a keyword class for class, right, and now for function we have some keywords that we are defining a function. I'll say def and I will say display. For example, this function that I am designing here, or we can say the function that I'm declaring, it's not designing, it's declaring. We call this declaration, right? Function declaration. So I'm declaring a function. Function is declared like this: the name of the function and parenthesis. Wherever you see these parentheses, opening and closing bracket, this is an indication of a function, right? And now we can see this is how we define declare a function. So now this is called function declaration, right? So this is how we declare a function, and inside function I can say print, right, hello, how are you? And these functions are related with real world things, like because if I say the property of the dog is eat, right? Dog eats, it's the property of the dog. But if I have to make the dog eat, I'll have to call the function eat. You'll slowly understand that, right? It's function that you are making something to function. For example, now if I go and it takes the same indentation blocks, right? So this is how you indent it. Now if I go and say print, I will call this display function directly. I'll say print, right, display, or I don't have to call print, I'll call display. Now the moment I call this display function, what is going to happen? Anything that is inside the body of the function is going to get executed. Now you can see clearly like this: hello, how are you going to? You're going to print, right? So this is how you call a function. A function can accept arguments or parameters right here. So this here can be a function argument, right? for example, if I create this function and I say it is going to accept name, right, and I can say here that hello, how are you, and I can pass this name right here, and I can say please format it, right? And now once I call the function, I'll get an error, right? Display missing the required positional argument. You have not supplied the argument name here. If the function accepts argument, you have to pass the argument. I repeat, if the function does not accept argument, right, you're going to still get an error. What is this name? The name is not defined, which is this we are formatting here. But yeah, if in case the function is accepting the parameter, please make sure you're passing the parameter. Now the function is accepting parameter. I'll pass parameter from here, name, right? Now you can see name is not defined, right? Because I have to pass string parameter. So I can say FAHIN. Now I have passed the name. Now I can print. Hello, how are you, Fahim? Right? You clearly see that I have now only called this display. Understood or misunderstood? Right? I only call this function display. Now what I can do, I can create many functions. For example, user defined functions. I can create a function add, and this function accepts two numbers, right? And I can return back to the function. Instead of printing it here, I can return it back to the function. For example, if I say it's accepting num1 and num2, right? Hold on a second. Hold your breath. Hold your breath. And understand what I say at this moment in time, right? So now, if I call this function add, how many parameters do I have to pass? 1, 2, right? If you're going with 2 buckets, that means you are going to get 2 buckets of water, right? Otherwise, why would you get it with 2 buckets, right? So now if the function is accepting 2 parameters here, please pass 2 parameters. And I can say right here, the sum of 2 numbers is, I can say num1 plus num2. So this is what I can do, right? But where do I pass it from? Now I can go ahead and say add 10, 20. So that's how we can make functions for software development. The sum of 2 numbers is 30. Now for example, I have different functions now here. I have add, I have subtract, I have multiply, I have divide. So I have subtraction, MUL multiply, DIV is divide. Now we can say here we are going to subtract, here we are going to multiply, which is MUL, and here we are going to divide. Now let me save this class as, now see this, I will save this as calculator. Now I save this inside Python as calculator. Now if I open another file here, so I'm opening another file. If I say, call, let's say about I am calling this function add, and I'm passing 10 and I'm passing 20. What do I get? I'll get an error. What is this add function? Right, so I'll say client. I'll save this. Now you can see we're getting error. What is this add? I'm not getting it. And then because I've already made these functions right here in the file calculator.py. Now I can say import calculator, right? And now if I run, I'm still going to get an error, right? Because add, what do you want out of this calculator? There are many functions defined in calculator. I can either say calculator dot add, and I can save it and run it. The sum of 2 numbers is 30. Now you have understood what import does actually, right? And you can make it an alias. If you want to give an alias, I can say import calculator as C, and then I can say C dot add. As simple as anything. Now you can see you are getting the sum of 2 numbers. Or I can even say this right here, right? I will say input. Now you can see inside it, I can say input, right? Or we can go here. I can say int n1 is equal to input. So you can say enter first number, right? and I can say it like this, enter first number, and then I can say, okay, why did I say int like this? I'll have to just convert it here, so I'll say int, fine, and I can say n2 is equivalent to int typecasting input, which is going to be enter second number and give it a bit of space, and then I pass n1 and I pass n2, and I haven't written print. I say c dot add n1 and n2. Alright, now I can go ahead and call it. Enter the first number, I'll say 10. Okay, sorry. Enter the first number, which is 10, and 20. The sum of two numbers is 30. As simple as anything. Now instead I want subtraction, so I'll call sub. Alright, and now say enter first number 20, enter second number 10. The sum of two numbers is going to be, why did I say sum? So I can change the num of two numbers. So it's going to be the sum of two numbers, the sub of two numbers, the multiplication of two numbers, and the divide of two numbers. So this is how import works. You already have user-defined functions and you call them like this, right? Okay, now enter first number, right? Let me call now multiply, c dot mul. So I can say 2 into 2, 4. So the multiplication of two numbers is 4. Alright, so now you can see you have imported this right here. I'll show you once again, don't worry. Alright, you have imported calculator, which you have saved as calculator.py. You imported it as C, or you can say, if you don't want to use it, if you want to use direct multiply. Alright, so you'll understand import like this. You'll understand it in a much better manner rather. So I'll say 10, 20. You're again going to get an error. What is this multiply? I don't know actually, right? So now what you can do, from calculator import mul. Now you are importing only one function out of that. So I can say 10, 20 is equal to 200. So this is where, now you can see what this import is doing here is we have quite many functions here. So we have add, we have subtract, we have multiply, and we have divide. And now what do you want? I said from calculator. Calculator is already saved. So I said from calculator import only multiply. So now I'll not be able to call anything, or I will say import multiply, import sum, right? Import sub. So it's going to be too hectic for me. That's why I say directly import if I have to use all of them. And now if you want to use only one function, then you can call only one. Rather, I want to use multiply, I'll say import calculator as C. So now you can call anything with the help of this alias. So this C is an alias given. So you can call any function now. You can see. Enter first number 10, enter second number 20. The multiplication of two numbers is 200, right? And let me make you understand about functions again, right? A function can return, for example, now get rid of this. I will define a function. Let's call this as display, right? Range, display number, or we can say display only, right? And now this function accepts a parameter name. Now, since the function accepts a parameter name, I have to make sure that while I call this function, I pass this name. It's as simple as anything. What do you think? What do you feel like? Is there anything too hectic to know? Or is there anything which is above your head? Nothing is above your head here, right? So now if I say def display name, so either I will say print here if I don't want to print. Now you will say, sir, hey, I don't want to print. Because when I call power function, it doesn't print anything. When I call square root function, it doesn't print anything. I'll say, okay, now you can do one thing, right? You can say, right, or we can say, let's say about, I will add, all right? Let's create this function add, and this accepts num1 and this accepts num2. Now I don't want to print them. I can say this, return. Hey, you return back the sum of number 1 plus num2 back to the function. This is where I said dot replace. That replace returns back something. So this is where we return back to the function. Alright, this is how you return back to the function. You're returning back when you call this function, you pass two parameters, and what this function does, adds, or we can say sums up, or adds two numbers. After the addition and the sum is done, returns it back to add function. Now if I say print add, and I pass two numbers, 200, 300, now you can clearly see I am directly printing the function right here, right? Because now print is not here. The function add is going to return the sum of two numbers here. Now you can see 500, as simple as anything. Now it is returning. Now let me say I will go here instead of print, right? Sorry, instead of print, if I say return back to the function, so you go and return this back to function. We'll say okay, return this back to function, return this back to function. So now this is going to behave just like power, replace, square root functions. Now I can go ahead and do this. I can say import, right, calculator as C. Now I can say, if I say C dot add and I say 100, 200, what happens? I get nothing. Why? Because the function here add is not printing, it's returning it back to function. Now in case if I say print right here, so then and only then I will be able to get this print out, right? So now if I say print, now you can see the sum of two numbers is 300. But in case if we are not printing it here and we are returning it back to the add function, so in that case I have to manually print it. So I can either say sum is equal to C dot add, which is C alias to calculator, and inside calculator there is a function add which takes two parameters, 100 and 200, and I say print sum, as simple as anything. Now if I print this sum, now I am getting the sum of two numbers is 300, right? So now let me dissect this for you, because if you understand it initially, right, and then you'll be able to cope up with the object-oriented methodology, because we're slowly and steadily moving towards the best part of Python, which is oops, right? And let me show you this as well. So now we have this function right here. So dissection is currently on. We are dissecting it. We used to do it in the laboratory once. Okay, fine. Now import calculator, which is the name of the file here. So that is calculator calculator.py. What is calculator.py? It's nothing but the name of the file. So import calculator as C. So now you can clearly see you are importing this file right here, because you have to use it, right? Now if you want tea from your mother, if you want dinner, if you want lunch, you will say, hey mom. Now the first thing is giving a call to mom. Now you're calling mom, hey mom, which is calculator here, and the mom may say what? Then you'll have to say that no, I need tea, that is add, I need sugar, I need water, I need something, right? That is the same thing here, alias. Now you say C, what is in calculator? Calculator has add, sub, mul, div, right? And now you say, hey calculator, hey mommy, give me tea, or hey calculator, give me add. Now you can see you're calling add, right? And now once you say give me add, what does add take? Add takes two parameters. If I don't pass these two parameters, which is 100 will go to num1, and then I pass 200 goes to num2. What does it return back? It returns the formatted string, which is the sum of two numbers, which is clearly n1 plus n2. You're adding two numbers and returning it back. Now once you're returning it back, there is no print statement here, right? That means you have to print it separately. Either you can do this, take it to a variable sum and print that variable sum, or what you can do is, if you don't want this, you can directly print this, right? So you can directly print it, right? And now if I print it directly, the same thing is happening again. Let me take a look at timings. So timings, we still have ample amount of time left. So I hope you understood this part. Right, so we will continue with functions even if you're understanding 30, 40, 50, 60%. I hope you understood above 70%, but even if it is 60%, 70%, right, yet I'll congratulate you. 70% at the first time is too much, right, to understand, right? And now this is it for functions. Now what is the rule of functions? Right, functions, right, always remember this. Functions always, okay, I'll write it down here. If the function, if any function accepts parameter, right, we have to pass the required parameters. If the function is accepting 1, you have to pass 1. If the function is accepting 2, you have to pass 2. For example, if we have a function defined, right, cal function. So cal, or we have this function cal, and now I have defined this function cal. I go inside the body. Now the body requires 1 tab. Sorry, and now I say this function here is not a function because it has no parenthesis. After having the parenthesis, now we have declared the function, right? Now let's say this function is printing, right? So now the function is printing calculation or sum. The function is printing sum, right? So now if I go ahead and save, no, right, nothing is going to happen because you have to call the function now, because it is the function. Function will not call, function is not going to call itself, right? Automatically you have to call. So now at the moment I call, I get a sum. Now if I have the same function here, right, now we have same function, 2 functions. Now which function are you calling? Call. We have 2 functions with same names. Which function are you calling? Hey brother, which function are you calling? Are you calling first one, or are you calling second one? So let me have this as sum1 and sum2. So which function will be called? It's going to be sum2. First sum1 is called, it's overwritten by sum2 because it is, as I said, that Python script is being interpreted. First this will be executed. Now you are printing s1, right, and then immediately overwritten by this. But now if this has a parameter known as, for example, num, right, so now this has parameter num, or let me have, now we have 2 functions. One is cal function, does not accept any parameters at all. Another function which accepts 1 parameter, right? Function this does not accept any parameter, and this function accepts 1 parameter. Now if I give it a call, now you can say you have to pass the parameter here, right? You can say that the missing parameter, right? Now what if the parameter is here, right? You're getting sum 2. So now that's absolutely understood because the second one is called, right? Now what if this function, if I pass 10, now if I pass 10, right? Now what is going to happen, right? This is the problem, right? So you are going to get problems here, right? And now it's it's of no use because the process of function overloading, which is possible in other programming languages, cannot be achieved here, right? You can see that you are getting sum 2. Yes, there are few ways in a class that we can do that, right? But you need to have all the functions with different names, right? And now this function is accepting, for example, I want a resolved function, right? I want the function to return me, for example, I want the function to return me execution, or I want the function to return me something like dictionary maybe, right? Or maybe I want my function to return me frequency, like we did many programs from yesterday wherein we checked many different things, right? And what else? Yeah, we return the count was there, and any different things. So you can do anything in the function, right? Let me be very frank so that we can do anything in the function. For example, let's create this program. So I will say user name is equal to input. So let me create a function based login system. I'll say input. Hey, enter username. Now then, if the username is entered, right, I can say, hey there, enter password. So this is understood. You're understanding this pretty well. Now you have, you can see this. Enter username and enter the password. Now I go ahead and I define a function right here. So I will say define, right? For example, is valid, right? Or we can say is authentic. So now this is the function which checks for the authenticity. And this is what happens in the real world. So I'll pass two parameters, username and password. Name can differ. You can have U here, you can have P here. So that can differ, right? And that's not a problem, right? So now I pass. Now the moment I compile this program, I run this program, I get this, enter username, whatever you enter goes here. And then you get another prompt, enter the password. Okay, enter password. And the password goes to this password variable. And then, right, you have a function which is authentic, username, and password, right? And now this function does this. So the function checks if user name, right, is not equivalent. So this is not equivalent to blank. If the username has entered something in reality or not. And I will use and. This is logical and password is not equivalent to empty. That means both are filled, right? So let me not have this brace here. Okay, if username is not blank, that means if username the user has entered has something in it, right? And if the password is entered, if it is not blank, then I will say return, right? I will say return good, right? And if it is not, I will say return bad, right? Or we can say return please enter a username and a pass WORD. Now this is the string here, right? So this is what my authentic function is doing. Now I'll call this only what I have to do, right? I will say, hey, would you mind to print what is the function giving me back? The function name is authentic. So you can see this is the function is authentic, and this function accepts two parameters. First one is username and second one is password. So now if the function is accepting parameters here in the parentheses, I told you we need to pass those parameters, right? Now if I run it, now you can enter username, nothing. Okay, is authentic is not defined. Okay, print, it is a function is authentic. I'll have to define it before. Oh, sorry. Okay, I'll have to define it before. Okay, now run it. I'll say I'll not enter anything. Please enter a username and a password. Now you're getting it. You'll say, no, I need to apply some kind of abstraction. Abstraction is, showing something that is relevant to the user. So I will take it inside another file and I will save this as authentic, right? AUTH. Let's call this auth. Now I have saved this function in a class, in a file known as auth, right? I repeat, whenever you call this function, you have to pass two parameters. As soon as you pass two parameters, the function checks for the validation, that is, if the username that's passed has something, is not equivalent to, right? And if the password has something, means it is not equivalent to blank, then return good, otherwise return this to back to function. Please enter name, username and password. Now if I'm using this authentic function right here, so my duty is to, for example, if I enter something, authentic is not defined, so I'm going to get this error. So that's why I will say import, right, auth. The file name is auth. You can clearly see I've saved the file name as auth, right, as A. right? And then I say a.authentic, because a is a file that I have imported. Or what is in the file, right? There may be many functions in the file, so that I say no, I need only one function, which is here. A is an alias, a is authentic, right? A is the file, I repeat, which is auth.py, and is authentic is the function. Now I run this. Now everything will be fine. Please enter a username and a password. Now if I enter anything, right, anything, right, I get good, right? As simple as anything. Now if it has another function, right here, define is, let's call this as is authentic, and let's call this as is valid. So this is called as validation, and this is called as verification. All right, so the login new system, you know, that we created previously. All right, so now it accepts two parameters. I go inside the function and I use the same. I will say if user name, if the username you have entered is equivalent to Fahim, and logical and, both the conditions have to be true because you're using and, right? That means if you enter username and you don't enter password, still it's going to go to else, right? Both the conditions have to be true because you're using and, you're not using or here. So I'll say if username is equivalent to Fahim and password is equivalent to password, right? So this is the username and the password hard coded, right? And then what you do, return, right? Return logged in, right? Else what you do, right? Else you return, right? Else you return back to the function, right? Invalid username or password. Now I can go ahead and check. I'll use it here. If, what does this function return? It returns, now let me show you again. Okay, we have some invalid syntax here. If username is equivalent to Fahim and password is equivalent to, it's comparison, not assignment, right? Is equal to password. Yeah, now fine. So let's run it again. Yeah, if I say this invalid username and password. Now if I say I have to call is valid, right? So now you can go back and see that we have two functions, right? One is checking for the validation that you should not enter empty strings. Another is checking that the username and password entered should match this string right here, right? So now because we have changed the name here, is authentic is doing this now, and is valid is checking for validation. So I'll have to call is valid here. Now I'll enter something and something, we get good. So now I say here, let me say this. If the function is valid function once we pass username and password to that function, right? Let me take a look at the timing. All right, so if this function is valid, right, what does it return? It returns either good or it returns something else, right? Or let me not do this, let me print it. So now let's go to authentics. It's going to be too much for you. I don't want you to okay, so now I call this is authentic, right? If you want to see, control and space bar, and then you can use the function. Now we are checking another thing, right? If it is authentic, now if I say authentic is something this and this, I get invalid username and password. That's absolutely right, because the username should match Fahim and password should match password. Then you get logged in. Now you can see the power of functions. You know, in Python, this is where we use those functions. It has limited the number of code we are writing. That's why we have some inbuilt functions, like we use math. That's also a function that's inbuilt, that's provided by Python itself. Right, but here what we are doing, we're creating our user-defined functions, right? Make sure there's nothing to worry about. Make sure that you have two different things. Function is defined with this def keyword, right? And then the function name, right? So I'm going to wind up with this, right? And you can say print in the function. You can directly print in the function, right? So now by defining the function, you're not going to get the result unless you call the function. This is called, right? This is called function definition, declaration, and this is called call to function. What do you call this? as this is called call to function. So let's say call, right? And now if I call the function, display is called, hello is printed, right? So maybe display has a misspelled. Okay, now you can see hello is printed. Now we can either pass parameter. Now if the function accepts parameter and now we don't pass the parameter, we get an error that the argument is not passed. It accepts one argument, so I'll have to pass one argument. The argument can either come from input or you can directly pass it. For example, if I pass Fahim, now hello, I can display the same name right here, right? I can say hello Fahim. Now you're getting it absolutely right. Now if you don't want to print, you can return. Once you return it back to the function, now this function will do a reversal. First take a parameter and return back to the function, right, this name and hello. You are now attaching hello to the name. Now if I call display Fahim, you're not going to get it because it doesn't print anything. Then what you have to do, you have to either create a variable, right, and assign whatever you can see. Now here this is an assignment operator. Whatever you're getting from display, right, which is the return value of hello and plus the name you're passing here from Fahim, right? So whatever you're getting returned back, you're assigning it to val, and then you can print the val at the same time. Now you can see hello Fahim. So the val is printed as simple as anything, right? So it's printed like anything. So hello, and then you're concatenating with name, or you can, if you want much better results, you can use formatting, which is Python 3.7 formatting F. So this is going to be hello Fahim, just like this. Now see the difference here and here. So it's going to be hello Fahim because it's formatted string, right? So this is how we call function. For you can print inside the function, or you can return back to the function, right? Or instead of assigning it to the variable, right, you can directly print this function here, which reduces the amount of load, right? Hello Fahim. And second thing, you can save this function. If you have a lot many functions, you can save the functions inside a text file, inside a Python file, and then import functions or import the file and import functions one by one, or import all of them at the same time. As you have already seen here, we have imported these two functions, and then now we will see in the next video how do we work with nested functions. And believe me, it's going to be a real fun. It's going to be a real fun. If you are enjoying this, please let me know. Please let me know. How did you find functions? I repeat, each and everyone who checks and goes through the video, it's his duty to let me know how did you find functions in Python. Do you find them easy or do you find them difficult? Right? If easy, then why easy? And if they are difficult, why are they difficult? Right? Alright, I'll repeat them 10 times. If you want 20 videos of functions in 20 consecutive days, I'll not hesitate. But this is meant to be understood. Please let me know down in the comment section, or you can message me, right, on the WhatsApp, that how did you find functions? Did you find them entertaining or interesting, difficult or easy, and your thoughts? Please let me know. And functions are going to get, now you can see now the code has started to grow. Now you will have code in 3 files, 4 files, slowly increasing. A software has many lines of code, right? So I don't want to you can say I just don't want to put forward those things, but yeah, let me know down in the comment section. All right, I shall be very grateful, and I'll be waiting for you guys. And do complete it and do practice 2 or 3 times, and maybe watch video 2 or 3 times, right, before you understand all the functions. Until then, I wish you all the very best. Remember me in your prayers. Bye bye, take care.